would there be a text message on your phone saying that you wanted to marry her when she turned 18 if you didn't send it?
What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to Grim. Today, this is the first of a two-parter series of this creepy guy on Dr. Phil that has the most ridiculous story that I've ever heard to cover up for his own creepiness. And his daughter is actually on the show as well because she is basically trying to tell him, hey, I don't want you in my life at all now that I'm adult. Get away from me. And she needs Dr. Phil's help for that. Make sure you keep watching until the very end because this guy's story is so ridiculous, you have to hear the whole thing. But without further ado, let's jump into it.
Now, you learned some things about him that occurred in 2010 on the internet, correct?
I learned from my neighbor.
So this is the daughter here that you're seeing, and she needs to distance herself from her father. She found out that back in 2010, he had some cases against him that he hid from his family. I don't know how, because he actually served over 100 days in jail for it, but I guess she never knew exactly why, and her neighbor told her, and let's just say it was some pretty earth-shattering information.
One day she told me, you know why he got arrested, right? And I said, why? And she told me that it was because he had underage girls.
Yep. He is an absolute freaking creepo, and he tries to cover for himself on the show. Surprisingly, he's the one that actually wrote in because he's like, my daughter hates me and I don't understand why. Maybe because you're an absolute slimeball creep that belongs in prison probably. But regardless, we're not going to meet him quite yet. Let's just hear from the daughter's point of view how tough it's been to be his daughter, basically.
And there were originally 4 counts, and he made a plea deal, pled it down to 2 counts, and pled guilty. But he now says that none of that's true.
So surprisingly, he had 4 counts against, but we're going to get into the 2 that he actually did plead guilty for, which he now claims never happened and was some giant elaborate setup, which is probably the story that every creepo would say once they got caught. But his story is uniquely stupid because I don't know how he believes anyone's gonna believe his story. Although I guess he really had high hopes for it since he wrote into the show himself and wanted to broadcast just how creepy he was to millions of people.
So what do you want?
I want him to realize that he is not the victim in the situation and to possibly get help. And I want to try to protect my little siblings.
So this girl is not looking to repair her relationship with her father at all. She hasn't seen him in 5 years. This is actually going to be their first time seeing each other. And all she wants is to protect her other half siblings that, you know, still live with him that could be in danger and have him realize that he is not the victim in this situation and have him own up to his giant, gross mistakes. Yo, really quick, you guys, there is a large chunk of you that watch my videos that are not subscribed. I really don't know what's up with that, but if you're enjoying the videos and you have a second, drop down below the video and hit subscribe. You might even want to hit that bell as well if you want to stay up to date on my uploads, but I really appreciate it. Anyways, back into the video.
Because I wouldn't bring him out here and have you around him if you're not okay with that, haven't thought through it, and I have your permission to bring him out here.
So also props real quick to Dr. Phil for really adamantly making sure that this girl is fully comfortable with seeing this guy because she has obviously been terrified of even having contact with her father for the past 5 years. But they need to talk this out on stage right now because he will not stop bothering her and he still does not admit to any faults in his story, which is actually just completely full of holes. Speaking of that, we're now going to get into his side of the story and how he got caught up in this mess where he ended up getting in a lot of legal trouble. Let's just hear how dumb this story is.
You maintain that you did absolutely nothing wrong.
That's correct. I didn't have any knowledge that she was underage, Dr. Phil.
So this guy's starting off with the most textbook response that any guilty, creepy person says is, oh, I didn't know at the time. All right, plausible deniability. I didn't know, but we actually will see soon that Dr. Phil has evidence that he definitely knew. I don't want to get into that right now, but basically this guy was caught soliciting from 2 people that were underage. The way that he got caught up in this, I'm just going to recap this for you guys because I don't want this moron to have, you know, too much screen time right now. But he claims that he was walking through a hotel that he did the security for because he owned a security company. He was limping and this lady just stops him and is like, hey, I'm a masseuse. Do you want me to help you with your leg? It looks like you're a little injured. And then he, of course, was like, yeah. So they go into her hotel room, which I don't know of any people, professional massage therapists, that are just going to be like, yeah, follow me to my hotel room and lay on a bed. Like, it just doesn't work that way. And then he claims that she then called someone who came over and they were trying to entrap him and make him seem like he was hiring people, to do things to him, which I'm pretty sure he was. And then when he didn't pay up, that's when they flipped out and he just stormed off.
Say, hey, I don't want anything to do with this. She's like, well, you have to pay a cancellation fee. And I'm like, pay a cancellation fee? I never called you to come down here.
And he eventually got blackmailed by them, and they reported him being super creepy, but it gets worse, okay? This guy not only had a terrible first experience saying, oh, I wasn't trapped, they made me spend money, and I didn't want to do any of it, and I didn't realize they were underage. He then says that he went back to that massage therapist 3 or 4 times at various hotels and at his house. So this guy is just beyond help. His story just does not add up at all, and Dr. Phil is really going to be dismantling it right now in front of us.
You probably know that I'm trained as a forensic psychologist, and I've worked in the court systems for many years.
So right now, Dr. Phil's giving him the preemptive talk of like, all right, you realize I am a pro at detecting BS and you are just off the charts, but I don't want to get into it unless you are aware that I'm about to absolutely destroy you. And this guy's like, yeah, go ahead. You're not going to find anything. I'm not guilty, even though I pled guilty twice.
It's been my experience that people that aren't guilty don't usually say they are. You did plead guilty.
And that's the biggest start to this guy did plead guilty. Why would you plead guilty if you truly weren't? I know the court system is very broken in America and you can have a tough time and a lot of times get off easier by having a plea deal. But when the evidence was just so stacked against you, I think the guy realized that there was no way he could try to be not guilty. He just had to take it, and he did commit this. There's no way his story adds up. The world doesn't work that way.
You approached the minor and told him you needed a massage. And according to the police report, the minor stated that they went for a ride along with you. And
okay, so here's where it gets even worse. He says the girls approached him in the story, like I said. They were like, oh, you're limping. Do you need a massage? And I got a friend that can come by that'll help me out with it. Just come into our hotel room. But then according to the courts, they said that he approached them. And according to the police report that the minor filed, they said that they were in his car and he was driving them around in a ride along. And at that point, he brought up the idea of a massage. Either way, it's very clear that on the legal side of things, they got this much more correct. He was the creepy one and was soliciting them. And he maintains that he didn't know she was underage until his attorney contacted him, throughout these 4 different massage sessions where he routinely hired her to go to creepy places like motels in his house. He did not realize that she was not an adult. But, Dr. Phil, of course, came with the receipts. Check out this evidence that is very clearly pointing in the other direction.
Sent a text message to this young woman on her cell phone telling her that you had dreams about her and that you wanted to marry her when she turned 18.
That's right. Remember when I said this guy was an absolute creepy moron? Emphasis on the freaking moron part. In the courts, they unveiled text messages that he sent to her where he was like, I had a dream about you and I want to get married when you're 18. How could you possibly say you did not know she wasn't 18 if you're sending her text like that? Which also, that is the weirdest thing ever, dude. Like, this guy is just absolutely disgusting. And it's hilarious to me that he is so narcissistic and vapid that he came on this show thinking that he could fool us and have us buy his story. Nah, dude, you are the creepiest of creepy.
Did you send her a text message?
I don't remember if I sent a text message or not.
I don't know how it got there on my phone, Dr. Phil, it might have been just a bot dial or something, but yeah, I don't remember sending that one, sorry. Like, dude, that doesn't work. You pled guilty to it. You clearly remembered at some point when the courts were asking you.
And wouldn't that contradict the fact that you didn't know she was 17?
And Dr. Phil is just grilling him right now. Look at those eyes. He's like, dude, don't BS me anymore. I've got you backed into the corner. Admit to it. Ugh, this guy has just been frustrating, and he will get into what caused him to, do these things and act this way. He blames it on PTSD, which is a whole nother story for part 2, where we're going to go into the section where Dr. Phil begins to absolutely tear into this man. Trust me, you are going to want to stay tuned. That video should be coming tomorrow. If you enjoyed this part 1, make sure you drop a like. Sorry, it's just a lot of videos and content, and I wanted to split it up, but trust me, it gets spicy tomorrow, and this guy gets really put in his place. But that about does it for this creepy liar today. Let me know what you thought so far, and as always, I'll see you all in the next video. Until then, peace out.